So these drones over New Jersey, you know, it's a hot topic in the news over there in the U.S., I reckon. I don't follow the news stories over there probably as close as any of you do. I don't watch the news. I just sort of brush over everything, so I'm not totally with my head in the sand, but I am aware there's a rash of drone sightings going on in New Jersey. Witnesses have reported that these do not appear to be commercial off-the-shelf type equipment. They're bigger, like cars or SUVs, which, you know, put them in a different situation than somebody flying a little, what do I got? I got a DJI Mini, you know, things about a little bit bigger in my hand, you know. These things are the size of cars, according to the witnesses. So anyhow, during this show, this is what I'm going to talk about, and I want to caveat something up front. I don't know all the information, neither does anybody. Some of the information I put out there are just food for thought. The main purpose of this is just to invoke thought and just to have a conversation. So I'm sitting here drinking a coffee. Imagine we're sitting at a bar and you're drinking a beer and we're just talking about drones over New Jersey. If I'm totally wrong on everything I say today, that's okay, because I'm just invoking thought. There you go. Battle it out in the comments if you don't agree with anything I say. I'd love to hear your side of the story, but here we go. What are these drones? Where do they come from? What are their objectives, the motives behind people flying them? Are they a threat to the U.S.? And who I think's behind them, if they are indeed a state actor. So let's just kind of run down some of the list of players that could be operating these drones. And we're making the assumption that they're above, 400 feet. So they're obviously in violation of FAA regulations. They're flying over some installations, which is a violation of federal law. So these people that are flying these drones can actually go to prison for some of these acts, right? It's clearly illegal, some of the things that they are doing. Some things are just fines, but other things they can go to prison over this stuff for. So it's serious. So is it hobbyist? Let's talk about hobbyists. Maybe it's just some crazy, drone group that likes building bigger drones, flying bigger drones, and they're the ones that are behind this. Sort of a joke or gain attention to a subject. Maybe they're activists about, hey, there's too many drone laws. Okay, you got some of these extreme diehard drone pilots, which that's the funniest thing to a guy from my generation, a drone pilot. I don't consider myself a pilot when I'm playing with my remote control airplane. That's just me. I just don't get it. It's, my generation, that's a remote control helicopter or a remote controlled airplane. We never called ourselves pilots. But now, I guess, to give everybody a title, it's like the newer generations, everybody wants to be a CEO. That's the problem with the young generation these days. They don't want to fucking work their way up through the ranks or put their time in. They want to make a business card that says CEO, throw a website up and all these social media pages. They're the CEO of some fucking company they just started 2 minutes ago. Now, if you can fly a remote control airplane, you're a pilot. For me, that's disrespecting people who are real pilots, who went to school, who put in hours and thousands of dollars. No, those are pilots. Okay, me sitting here flying this DJI Mini, I'm not a fucking pilot. Man, I had to get off on that tangent. Anyhow, moving right along. I feel much better now. Thank you for listening. So they're hobbyists, right? That could potentially go to jail. That's a possibility, right? We've seen crazier people do crazier things in the interest of activism and their manifesto and for what they believe in, right? Well, I don't think it's hobbyist. I don't think it's hobbyist because this has been going on for so long. There's so many of them. And there's no telling what information that law enforcement and the intel community and the military already know about these things, right? So if it were just some shitheads flying around fucking off, I think there would already be some action taken. It'd be pretty simple. This is not a big, huge conspiracy. It's a bunch of damn remote control airplane junkies, and it would already have been put down. That's what I think. And again, the people are risking prison terms. So if I had to put that on my board of, okay, I think that's unlikely. Now, the problem with that is once these sightings start going on, you're going to have copycats. You're going to have copycats, you're going to have some jackass wants to get in the mix because he's a nutcase, what have you. So there might be some copycats and some people just fanning the flames by doing their own thing, right? But I don't think they're the main effort. So you're going to have some shitheads involved in the fray, but I don't think they started it, nor are they the main effort. If the reporting is true, okay? Now let me caveat that for just a second. I'll go into my next suspect, my next two suspects. People, a lot of times, when they look up in the sky, they think they're seeing something. It's an airplane or it's a helicopter. Could be a military aircraft or military type drone. And what do they think it is? A lot of people think it's a UFO, but we're ruling out UFOs in this case because people are clearly saying it's just big drones. They're not UFOs. There's a rash of UFO sightings. Obviously, Congress has been holding hearings about UFOs, but nobody is saying, at least in my information, that, hey, these things look like UFOs, they're defying the laws of physics. They're saying, no, it's a big-ass drone. All it is a big-ass drone. It's got lights on it. So I'm going to rule out the UFO advanced propulsion technology argument or aspect of it because people aren't saying that from what I'm seeing and what I'm reading. It's just a big-ass drone. Okay, all right. So if we rule out the hobbyists or put them on the low level of suspects, okay, the next thing you go up to, is it some type of special access program being run by contractors to the U.S. government, the U.S. military? And you say, well, okay, why would they be up there with their lights on and letting everybody see them? Well, maybe it's the payload that they're testing. Okay, so say you develop some type of new signals intelligence program or equipment or what have you. You've got to test it at some point, right? And how better to test it? Say they're collecting cell phone signals or metadata or conversations or practicing some type of jamming. They've got to put those things up and test them sort of in real time. Well, you don't want aircraft or anybody else crashing into them, so they keep the lights on. So maybe this is a big special access program. The drones themselves aren't anything special other than the fact that they're the lift platform. They're the platform for some type of new ISR surveillance equipment, cameras, signals intelligence, signals collection, something like that. That's why nobody's saying anything about it. It's pretty damn public now. But the thing about it, these things are flying around with lights on. Now, some people say once they're spotted, the lights go out. Well, whenever you're trying to do some type of program through the government, safety is always priority one. More things get vetoed in the United States federal government because of safety. Sergeant Safety comes up and says, well, what about the red cockaded woodpecker? The drone could fall from the sky while the red cockaded woodpecker is taking a piss and it could knock them out. Oh shit, man, we got to cancel the whole program because of the red fucking cockaded woodpecker and some goddamn endangered sea turtles 300 miles away. So anyhow, safety is a big deal, right? So maybe they're like, hey, we'll approve this program, this testing, but you got to keep the lights on the damn drones. If a Cessna runs into one or what have you, we're all going to jail. Just throwing the what ifs out there, right? Food for thought. So is it a special access program? Your guess is as good as mine. It just depends on how important it is that testing goes on, that, okay, we scare a few citizens and, keep our mouth shut for a little while until we get the data and get this shit right. Are there specific targets that they are surveilling? Who knows, okay? But there we go. Low-hanging fruit is hobbyists on up to some type of special access program that everybody is seeing for the past month. I put that down as low-hanging fruit, but again, a possibility. You can't be biased, when you're trying to figure out what's going on. You can't be biased to one thing or another until you get all the facts and the data comes in. Okay. Number 3, is it a state actor? In other words, is it another country that is somehow collecting intel? They're flying these things over military installations. So again, that sort of rules out my hobbyists. Is it a state actor? And I'm going to come right out and say, if it is indeed a foreign government, it's the Chinese Communist Party. That part is not the fucking mystery. I feel like Chicken Little. The sky is falling, or, nobody's listening. Nobody is listening that all this money is going to the Ukraine, going to Kiev, wasting fucking time and money over there. All these other spots going on around the world, when the real bear is the Chinese Communist Party. The CCP is the world's enemy because of their efforts at expansionism and the way their strong-arm tactics to exercise that expansionism. When I say they're the modern-day Nazis, it's a land grab. It's just World War II all over again. They want the South China Sea. Some asshole just put 9 dashes on a map. Boom, that's ours. Okay, now let's move in, build artificial islands, and defend it. What's the next asshole going to do? Draw 20 more dashes and say, okay, now the Philippines, Guam, everything else, that's ours too? Okay, and I'm going to go over some specific articles about China to back up what I'm saying. But this congressman who stood up there, I have to question, maybe not his sanity, but his naivety. Is that a word? Did I say that right? He's a little bit naive to stand up there, in my opinion, and say there's an Iranian mothership off the coast of the U.S. launching these drones. Again, stranger things have happened. But for that guy, one of our lawmakers, for somebody to whisper that in his ear, and for him to go out there and stand up and say there's this mothership from Iran launching drones, that blows my mind. I hope I'm wrong on a lot of things, because I'm not trying to ratchet up the atmosphere. Okay, I'm not a warmonger. I'm the exact opposite. Anyhow, it's not Iran. Why would a country who knows that a lot of people in the U.S. federal government are just looking for an excuse, along with Israel, to lay waste to the place so we can steal their oil? Now, obviously, you don't want them developing nuclear weapons. Okay, that's a strategic issue. But there's also this element of oil. Okay? What makes the world go round? Okay, the oil and gas industry and the defense industry is what makes America go around. So would a country that knows that we're on the hair trigger of coming up with an excuse to just lay waste to the entire place, drive a big ass boat off of our shores and send some freaking drones over our military installations? That's like them putting the gun to their own head and fucking starting to squeeze the trigger. That don't make sense to me. That don't make absolutely any sense. Especially with the new administration coming in. Iran wants to be as quiet and as peaceful as possible, or they're going to get knocked the fuck out. They're going to take some, I just read an article, they're planning strikes on their nuclear facilities. There's a good chance they're going to get hit. The question is, how hard? How hard are they going to freaking get hit? Are we just going to take out their nuclear capability, or are we going to wipe out a big percentage of their infrastructure, their government? That's the only question. So you're not going to convince me that Iran's going to drive a boat over there and start poking the bear that's about to take a bite out of them already. This redneck don't buy that shit, but that congressman that stood up there, either he's part of the misinformation campaign or he's truly just got excited in the moment. He's a little bit naive and jumped the gun. And he may just be repeating what, you know, people on the inside told him, for either on purpose or they jumped the gun on their assumptions. It's not Iran. For me, it's not Russia. There's only one entity that would have the balls to do that if it is indeed a state actor, and that's the Chinese Communist Party. Why? Because they know we're not going to retaliate. It's a message. It's more of a sending a message to the incoming Trump administration. It's sort of like in, what was it, 2017? I think that's right. When they shot down one of their own satellites. Why did they do that? Because it was a message. It was a demonstration and a message to the world that we now have the capability to shoot down your satellites. They didn't have to send a message. Now, they supposedly notified the U.S. government before they did it. I don't know about all that. But the point is, if anybody was in doubt that the Chinese have that capability, there's no more doubt. There's no more debating whether or not they can do it. They demonstrated it, right? Boom, we can take out satellites. All right. Man, I got on a tangent there. I'm going to have to go back through notes and start hitting these sites to start talking specifically. Let me just ask you this question. If you're a drone pilot, for the purpose of this show, I'll give you that credit for about 2 seconds. Nah, I can't. I just can't do it. If you have a drone, right? If you fly a drone, what's the brand of your drone? I guarantee that 9 out of 10 of y'all are going to utter 3 letters, DJI. Where's DJI from? China. Who is the leading drone developer, manufacturer in the world? As far as I know, is DJI. China. China. My drone is from China. Okay, there's some American companies struggling to keep up. They're in the dust when it comes to drone technology. So let me go to a couple of articles while we're talking about just specific drone technology. Let me get my old man glasses on and let me get this pulled up here. So you have to bear with me for a second. A dazzling display. China's record-breaking drone spectacle with over 10,000 drones. Okay, this article was published October 17, 2024. It's on Guinness Book of World Records. During this year's National Day celebrations, tech took center stage across China, and nothing wowed audiences quite like the breathtaking drone display over Shenzhen. A massive fleet of 10,200 drones lit up the night sky, creating a cyber fireworks spectacle that earned drone light show company Demota not 1 but 2 Guinness World Record titles. The most multi-rotors / drones airborne simultaneously from a single computer outdoors, and the largest aerial image formed by multi-rotors and drones. 10,000 drones controlled by one single laptop. Okay. Now, the experts confirmed there was 10,197 drones. Okay. Now I want you to think about that, because they were going, obviously they were going for the record. Let's break the 10,000 drone record, which they already held, I believe. That's the case the last time. So instead of just trying to get 10,000 in the air, they just added a couple hundred like it was nothing. Like it was nothing. So they probably threw 10-2 up there, maybe 3 didn't work. They still made it 10,197. 10 with a cushion, a solid 10. All right, so I'm sitting there looking, and I realized that there was another article, another video, what have you. I'll have to find it here. From December 10th, 2024. Amazing Christmas light display featuring 5,000 drones. And this is an American. Mansfield, Texas on 26 November. The largest aerial display of a gingerbread village image displayed by drones consisted of 4,981 drones and was achieved by Sky Elements Drone Shows and Uvify, both USA, in Mansfield, Texas on the 26th November. And what it sounds like, I'm not sure, but it sounds like the way they just wrote that sentence, two companies had to come together to try to put 5,000 drones in the sky, and they couldn't get there. 4,981. So the way I look at that little connection, right, in just in a short period of time, we're struggling to hit 5, and they're surpassing 10. So they're twice, 2 times, a factor of 2. They're twice as advanced as we are. If you look at that little thing, and then if you look at the pictures, look at that little gingerbread house. It looked like it was done on a freaking dot matrix computer, maybe back in the late 80s. And then you go look at China's display, and it looks like it was done on a color laser printer. Big, huge difference. And if you watch that video, you could almost say, like when they did that one spaceship, right? From a distance, the way that spaceship looks, unless this is CGI, assuming this is real, it's filmed by Guinness World Records, so I would assume that they actually filmed it, but you never know. So much shit these days is CGI, and you get fooled unless you look into it. But when they put that ship together, my gosh, imagine that thing flying over a city. A lot of people would think that's a freaking UFO. And they would describe it, this huge ship flew over, didn't make any noise, it made a right turn. It's 10,000 drones. Now here's the scary part of it, right? Okay, this is what they're publicly showing you. All right, this is what we're being shown publicly. So obviously any type of technology like this, whatever's being shown public, there's military applications that are so far ahead of this that we don't see that will boggle your mind. Okay, so I guess my point telling you that if these drones around the US are indeed a state actor, it's China. Everybody goes to China for the drone technology, to buy the drones. They have the manufacturing capability to pump these things out like it's nothing. They already supply the world with drones, right? Okay. Why New Jersey? Why New Jersey? Let's get off on a little conspiratorial. And you know what the definition of conspiracy theory is in my book? It's like if you agree with the United States federal government's version of events, you get to be a history professor. They'll call you an historian. If you disagree, all they do is label you a conspiracy theorist to discredit you. That's the US government's game. It's really anybody's game. If they can't attack the message, they just discredit the messenger, right? He's a conspiracy theorist. A fucking Elvis impersonator. Holy shit, just watch that show, The Kings of Tupelo. You can't make that shit up, folks. You can't make that up on Netflix. True story. So, alright. I wasn't going to go there, but I just thought this was interesting. Just coincidence, right? Okay, so let me read you this. What caught my, I don't know why it popped up, right? But sometimes shit they pop up, you know, and you're like, why the hell? Navy commissions USS New Jersey. 16 September 2024 is this article from the U.S. Navy, Middletown, New Jersey. The Navy commissioned the fast attack Virginia-class submarine USS New Jersey, SSN 7906, in a traditional ceremony held September 14th at Naval Weapons Station Earl in Middletown, New Jersey. The ceremony culminated a years-long process for commissioning the New Jersey, the third U.S. Navy ship named after the state of New Jersey. The most recent being the decorated battleship BB-62, which saw action during World War II, the Korean War and the Vietnam War. So naming a boat the USS New Jersey is recent. It's a very recent, as in September when it was commissioned. And now you got drone sightings flying all over New Jersey. Because if you're not familiar with what's going on in the South China Sea right now, almost on a daily, weekly basis, the Chinese Communist Party are using water cannons against the Philippine Coast Guard. They rammed ships. A dude lost his thumb. The Chinese basically stole their weapons, communication equipment. There's the makings of conflict. There's already conflict. There's already violence. They're ramming the ships. They rammed the boat. The dude lost his thumb. They stole their weapons. That's already conflict. We're past that. There is conflict going on in the South China Sea right now. I think yesterday they sent 90 ships for another practice run encircling Taiwan. I just read a headline. I don't know if they did it or they were headed that way. I don't know. There's a war brewing in the South China Sea. Okay, there's a reason that the U.S. military is ramping up back here in the PI. And most people in America, they're not paying attention to that. They know more about Ukraine and what's going on maybe in the Middle East, and nobody realizes where the real conflict is brewing. The long fight, the fight against a real adversary with, 1.5 billion people? So is that conspiratorial, or is this just part of the message? If you're gonna screw with somebody and send a message, put these little hidden innuendos in there, right? Okay, all right, y'all just commissioned a new submarine that's obviously about to make its way over here to the West Philippine Sea, to the Taiwan Strait. All right, well, we'll just fuck with the people in New Jersey. Yeah, it's a little bit out there, right? But again, it's all about sending messages. Maybe that's reading into it a little bit too far. But hey, I'm in the entertainment business, so I thought I'd throw that shit out there, right? USS New Jersey gets commissioned. I guess it's in New Jersey or near New Jersey. I think it went down to Cape Canaveral now. Anyhow, now you got drones flying over New Jersey. Why else would people want to concentrate their efforts on the state of New Jersey? I can think of many other places that I would concentrate my efforts on. I mean, I don't know. New Jersey. Why are they in New Jersey? There you go. That's what they call a theory. And if the U.S. government don't agree with you, they'll stack on the term conspiracy. Label you a nutcase. All right, let's say it is the Chinese. It is the Chinese military sending a message, collecting signals, intelligence, what have you. I think it's more of just a message to Trump that, hey, we have the capability to do this. I don't think they're really collecting anything. I think it's a message. It's an overall message. Hey, dude, y'all are over here fucking around with this Taiwan issue. We can easily come over there and fuck with you with a fleet of drones. There's nothing much you can do about it. Okay, why do I say that? Seams and gaps. All right, now not to get too technical in military terminology, but let's just talk about what's a gap. Okay, well, if these two hands are together, okay, the seam is right where they connect, right? That's the seam, and if I put them like that, it's a gap. So say one battle space renter has a spot here, and another guy has a spot over here, the guy has a spot here, and there's a mountain range in the middle. There's a gap. Who's covering it, right? Who the hell's covering it? Well, what if they all come together on the map, and now you have these seams? Well, people don't like getting too close to the seams because it's the other battle space runner's property. There's, maybe a problem with friendly fire, stepping on somebody else's turf, whatever. So what happens is, these gaps, these natural gaps don't get patrolled, or close to the seams don't get patrolled. And that's where the enemy is going to, if they're aware of those gaps and seams, they're going to exploit them, obviously. You know, you got an area where your enemy never goes, and they really don't have any visibility because there's a whatever reason, it's hard to get there. That's where you're going to be, seams and gaps. So why do I bring this up? What is going on in the United States federal government right now? There is a gap. There is a gap because, number one, we've been rudderless for the past 4 years. We have an Alzheimer's patient as a president. You know, God bless him. Okay, it's time for him to sit in the rocking chair like he should have been 4 years ago. So we've been rudderless for 4 years, but now there really creates a gap. You could say that was a big long gap. But there's such a gap right now for 2 reasons. Okay? Number one, everybody in DC up there, a lot of people are going to be looking for jobs. When Trump comes in, a lot of people up there, decision makers, are either going to be out of a job or they think they're going to be on the chopping block. Nobody right now in Washington, D.C. wants to make a decision on anything because the only thing they're worried about is their job, their reputation, their paycheck, and trying to live once the new administration comes in there and get some of these criminals out of there. So nobody wants to make a decision. Number 2, what's coming up? It's Christmas. Who the hell wants to make a decision before Christmas that could potentially keep, 100% of their staff on duty around the clock through Christmas and New Year's? Nobody wants to be that guy. I'm going to tell you because I've been that guy a couple of times and I was basically ostracized. I fucked up a Thanksgiving dinner one time because I stumbled onto an indoor marijuana grow when I had 2-3 fucking pies in my car headed down to the Thanksgiving show. I was just supposed to stop by and ask a question of a dude and look in there, and it's quite obvious he had this big ass grow going on. What am I going to do? I was stuck with it. I fucked up Thanksgiving. People hated me. They probably still hate me. Some of y'all watching, still alive, you remember that incident? I fucked up Thanksgiving. So nobody in DC wants to fuck up Christmas and say, hey, let's all buckle down, figure out what these things are. Are we going to shoot one down? Are we going to try to bring one down, hack one, bring it down, put 30 rednecks out there with 12 gauges and bring some down? And you notice this shit ain't happening over Mississippi. They picked New Jersey. Anyhow, nobody wants to make a decision. So I said, you know what, let's just look at what is the definition of gaps and seams, right? So you go to the U.S. Marine Corps terminology here, gap. Let's see. Any break or breach in the continuity, any break or breach in the continuity of tactical dispositions or formations beyond effective small arms coverage. Gaps, parentheses, soft spots, any weaknesses in time, space, capability, a moment in time when the enemy is overexposed and vulnerable. Okay, a seam in an air defense umbrella, an infantry unit caught unprepared in open terrain, or a boundary between 2 units. Okay, there is a huge gap in leadership. And if you go back and study the invasions of Normandy, which could have been a lot tougher, but there was a gap in leadership because where was Rommel? Rommel was visiting, wasn't he visiting his wife on Christmas or some shit? Not Christmas, her birthday. I can't remember. It wasn't Christmas, obviously. It was June. But Rommel was somewhere else predisposed, off the scene. And then Hitler was sleeping and nobody wanted to wake anybody up. And there was that gap in time where there was no decisions to be made. And it allowed us to get a toehold, get a foothold, probably a lot easier than if the people in charge had been awake and on the scene and ready to make those immediate decisions. So if it is China, the timing is perfect. You wouldn't do this shit. I guarantee they won't do this shit the minute that Trump is sworn in. The drone problem is probably going to go down before then. But the minute he gets sworn in, it's over. But they know, they're smart enough to know, they study the art of war. You know, they're just fighting the enemy where we're not. They don't got to fight us over there in the South China Sea, right out here in the South China Sea. when they're over there fucking with us in our own backyard and we can't defeat them over the skies of the suburbs in New Jersey? That doesn't instill confidence in the public that we can go forward and defeat them over on the other side of the world. So, damn, lost my train of thought a second. So if it is China or a state actor, how could they pull this off? Look, folks, you can buy all the parts that you need to build a drone. You can buy all that stuff in the US, or you can order it from China. Okay, one guy said, how do they transport these things around? Which is a good question. You know, if you put a big drone in the back of your SUV, it takes up the whole back, right? How do you transport a drone the size of a car or the size of a small bus? It's got to go in the back of a 18-wheeler or like a box truck. But you don't have to do that. You find some secluded warehouse somewhere and you put that thing together. You launch it from there, you bring it back. You're never driving the thing up and down the road. Assemble. How many people does it take to assemble a big old drone? Well, it doesn't take a huge team. I mean, if you wanted to send, say, 12 people over with the mission of, hey, you're going to put together like, 10 big ass drones and fly them around and fuck with the Americans. Fucking 10 people. You don't have to have a big team to do this. I just told you. Guinness Book of World Records just told you that one single laptop controlled 10,197 drones simultaneously in tight formation, making freaking spaceships in the sky. It was beautiful. So to control a dozen drones just flying around slow speeds over New Jersey, it's probably one or two guys, one laptop, or one, maybe he's running it off an iPhone. They can run 10,000 off a laptop, they can run 10 or 12 off an iPhone. Be sitting there at the damn Starbucks sipping their shit and just watching everybody go around and panic. It doesn't take a big team. Okay, why haven't we shot them things down, right? We have the capability, whether it be from aircraft or from drones or, ground-based air defense artillery. We can shoot them down. We can bring them down. Why haven't we? All right. When you shoot things up into the sky, they tend to come back down. All right. You shoot something into the sky, it comes down, lands on grandma, and kills her. Somebody's gonna be liable for that. It'll be lawsuits till the end of time in America. If we're outside the United States, okay, CRAM just cuts loose and does what it's got to do. But in America, we're playing by different rules because the lawyer's gonna jump on and sue somebody, try to prosecute somebody. So you got all these sergeant safety types just trying to cover their ass and not get put on the chopping block. If they shoot the damn thing down, it falls down on somebody's house and kills a family of 6. There's that safety issue. And there's that hesitancy to make hard decisions because of that. And I understand it. People are worried. Ultimately, what are people worried about? They're worried about themselves and paying their own mortgage. So do they want to go to work and say, hell yeah, shoot that thing down. Psh, boom, falls and kills 3 people, now they're in prison. Anywhere else, they say, oh, it's just, oh, that's war. War is hell. You're not going to say that in America. Somebody's going to get sued and get prosecuted. So there's the safety issue. What goes up is going to come down, can hurt people. Okay, B, do we know what the payload is? Okay, are these things a threat to the American people? Absolutely. Positively they're a threat because we don't know their intentions or what the payload is. You watch any of these videos where farmers are using drones to spray their entire crop. Okay, what if the thing is carrying biological weapons, right? I'm just throwing that out there. I don't believe that. That's not my belief. But you run down all the possibilities and you don't leave anything off the list. Okay, what if they're flying around with biological agents or radioactive agents and they're going to spray that shit on the population? Really cause some panic and chaos. And trust me, I don't think that's what they're doing. Okay. But the threat also, I think the biggest threat, you don't have to have any particular high technology payload to cause deaths if these things are as big as they say they are. All they got to do is drive them into the glide path of a commercial aircraft taking off or landing, and they're going to bring down an aircraft and kill 200 people. It's that simple. I mean, I don't know what the testing is. I mean, I've seen the testing of where they throw frozen birds through these engines, you know, and it'll break apart fan blades, and they're designed to take so much stress and what have you. I don't know if they flew a DJI Mini through one of those aircraft engines to see what happens. Probably survive. But what's not going to survive is a vehicle-sized drone or a SUV-sized drone hitting that aircraft anywhere. You don't got to hit it in the engine. That thing hits the front, hits the windshield, hits the fuselage, the tail. An Airbus A380 running into a Suburban is going to end up in hundreds of dead people. So are they a threat? Goddamn, absolutely. They're not following the rules. They're not following the rules. So what prevents them at some point for the grand finale just to go like this into the glide path of the 787, all simultaneously? However many drones are in the sky could potentially take out that many aircraft. That's scary. So is there something that needs to be done? What is the greater of two evils? Do you shoot the thing down to try to gain more information to put a stop to it, run the risk of killing a family, or do you let them keep flying around until they take down an aircraft, they take down 30 families? Those are the tough decisions that have to be made, and nobody up there during this gap. I mean, we just witnessed the worst 4 years in the history of the United States. There was no leadership. There is no leadership. The worst leaders in history is what will go down in the past 4 years. You know, this old man, Alzheimer's patient, he was just the face of the madness. It's just the collection of the worst leaders we've allowed to not lead. They weren't leading, to just go up there and destroy our country. Tough decisions. What does Trump have to do on day one to restore the confidence of the American people? I'm sitting here sweating because I don't want to turn the air count on. On day one, what he has to do immediately, if these fucking drones are still overflying, immediately when he gets sworn in, issue an order, okay, suspend the airspace over New Jersey. The entire state of New Jersey, the airspace is now militarized. Effective immediately. The only aircraft authorized over New Jersey are military aircraft. Anything in the sky will be engaged. Well, it's not going to take very long to either A, they stop flying, or B, some of them get shot down. And will there be some damage on the ground or potential injuries, or, you know, folks killed? There's that possibility. But you're talking about the nation right now, as I see it, has no confidence in the United States military, law enforcement, or the intelligence community. Just let the shit fly over my head. What's in it? What's it going to do? What's its intentions? You're not doing nothing to protect me and my family. And I just saw an article that said, hey, homeowners are about to start taking matters into their own hands. In other words, sitting out there and blasting them with 12 gauges. How can you blame them? The government is doing nothing. That's their perspective. Now, stay with me here. The government's not doing, it's not that they're doing nothing. I think that hard decisions need to be made, but they're not, but they are doing something. And in their defense, a lot of times if you see this drone, you have the capability to bring it down. Okay, now you can pick through the parts and see what's going on, but what would be much better? Much better to surveil that freaking drone and see where it goes back to, and it lands at this warehouse. Now, do you immediately raid the warehouse and arrest everybody? You could, but then you limit yourself, because the rest of the crew goes underground, they scatter, and it's tougher. Okay, the better scenario, as long as people are willing to let this thing walk. That's what we call in the dope world. We know there's 10 keys in that car. Instead of taking them down, let it walk. Let's let it walk, see where it goes. Then follow that guy, see where it goes. And you learn so much more about the organization. But a lot of supervisors are very wary about letting shit walk. Because if something bad happens, they're left holding the bag. For example, I know there's 10 kilos in that car of coke. Let's let it walk, see where it goes. You get some sergeant safety boss who's, oh no, because if Johnny overdoses on that cocaine in that car, might get back to us. That we let that 10 kilos walk or blah blah. You see, and they shut it down. No, knock it off. You knock it off, and then the investigation gets stonewalled for a second. So you want to let these things walk as long as possible, so you can identify the whole entire organization, what they're doing, where they're going, follow these people, who are they associated with. The longer you let it go, the more you're going to learn. And then when it's time to take everybody down, you take down a bigger part of everybody that's involved. Does that make sense? Okay? So obviously they know more than they're telling the public. And obviously, to try to identify more players, you have to let things play out. You have to let it walk. But the American people don't understand that. And that's why there's a confidence problem. So if that is the strategy that's going on, and they're gaining traction, they're learning more, if this is what's going on, okay, well, they got until Trump takes over to let it walk. And once he takes over, letting shit walk is out of the question. It's time to take everybody down and restore the confidence of the American people. So everybody's sitting in a cubicle monitoring these drones over there, trying to hack them, take them over. Whatever your actions are, you're going to have to work through Christmas. Because once Trump gets in there, it's time to shoot the shit down. Everybody's going to go to ground. Everybody involved will be on the next flight smoking back to Beijing, or they'll be heading somewhere. It won't be in America. They'll be heading for the hills. So you don't agree with me. You don't think China's the enemy. You don't think they're trying to mess with the United States. Okay. China's salt typhoon recorded top American officials' calls, says White House. Chinese cyber spies recorded very senior U.S. political figures' calls, according to White House security manager Ann Neuberger. The Salt Typhoon campaign was a focused operation targeting high-level people in politics for espionage purposes. During a media briefing last week, Neuberger confirmed 8 U.S. telecom providers had been compromised by Salt Typhoon, along with organizations in dozens of countries. We believe this is a Chinese espionage program focused again on key government officials and corporate intellectual property. FBI officials told reporters the Chinese government-backed spies stole large amounts of records, including Americans' metadata, contained call and text contents. Salt Typhoon also compromised wiretapping systems used by law enforcement. Although that wasn't the focus of the spying intrusions, what they're telling you. Set the record straight that the Chinese started this campaign with much broader aims. But what the Chinese are good at, again, nobody in America has read The Art of War. I don't get it. It's just a short document that they're following to the T. Why try to hack everybody and do all the hard work when you can just go to the U.S. law enforcement's back doors, how they, I say we, I'm not in the game anymore, how they wiretap other Americans. They've got the back door, so when they get a court order, they start tapping your phone, right? Well, the Chinese don't need to hack Verizon, they just need to go hack that system. It's the same way years ago, the Chinese didn't focus on, I mean, they were hacking everybody, but what they focused on was hacking not the Pentagon's records on individuals, but the people who did the backgrounds on everybody for their security clearances. Now think about that. Everybody in government, everybody not everybody, but most people in the military, you're in the contractor world, whatever, your security clearance means your career and your job. And the SF-86 has everything about you. Everything. Okay? Depending on the level of the clearance is how much actual groundwork they do going out talking to people. But what the Chinese did is they hacked the company, the contract company that was going out doing a lot of these background investigations. And from what I heard, they basically took all the data and made basically a Facebook that the Chinese intel guys, the military guys, can just go on there and type in somebody's name and it pulls up their SF-86 plus whatever else they've added. They know everything about everybody. Now on that SF-86, you got to put your mom, your dad, your sister, your kids, where they were born, everything. The Chinese know everything, at least up until that point, about pretty much every super secret squirrel up there, because they hacked the company and the systems where they stored and collected the cases, the SF-86s, to adjudicate clearances. So here you go. They've been in the telecom networks in the US to the point there's all kind of guidance come out there, like if you send Android to Android, your texts are not secure, or they are, or if you go Android to Apple, they are or not secure. You know, it's best to use some type of encryption. Yeah, no shit. But the point is, the Chinese are embedded in all of the telecoms in the United States. They can't seem to get them the fuck out. Do they have the capability to shut off comms in America? I think they're still trying to figure that shit out. They're still trying to figure out, does the CCP have the ability to turn off most of our cell phones in America? My goodness, you can see the chaos that would create. But I'm not making this shit up. They're telling you. They're telling you they're there. They're warning you they're there. They're telling you we can't get them out. We're not sure if we've got them out. They've got some type of control. So you think flying some drones over just to send a message, that's nothing for them. Now, let's move on and talk about drones. Is this a drone war? Yeah. In a way, it's a drone war. It must be crazy. All right, just keep listening, mother. I use that term lovingly. Keep listening. Largest U.S. drone manufacturer says it will need to ration batteries for customers after sanctions by China. Skydio said it's forced to ration batteries due to supply constraints caused by the Chinese government's sanctions, which the firm described as an effort to eliminate it and increase the world's reliance on Chinese-made drones. Okay, here's the drone war. The world's largest drone maker, DJI, filed a lawsuit against the U.S. Department of Defense earlier this month after being designated a Chinese military company. Yeah, our DJI drones are made by the enemy. In its lawsuit, DJI has argued that it's neither owned nor controlled by the Chinese military, and the Pentagon's move is unlawful and misguided. The listing, it's lost business deals and continues to be stigmatized as a national security threat. It is unclear if the Pentagon's blacklisting of the Shenzhen-based company is linked to China's sanctions against Skydio. Okay, now we're literally fighting a drone war, but not in the skies. It's over who's going to manufacture the drones, who's going to lead the manufacturing, right? That article came out October 31st, 2024. Okay, I'm not exactly what day they designated them as a military company, but you're talking about all the timing adds up, right? Okay, we're going to put sanctions on you. Okay, we're going to put sanctions on you. It's all about drones. Who's going to make the drones? And then next thing you know, you got drones over New Jersey. Let's see, the lawsuit reflects how the company is going on the offensive. They're using that word offensive as it faces a congressional push to ban DJI's drones from use in U.S. airspace. Okay. The problem with the CCP and the problem with China is that everything can be controlled and is controlled by the Chinese Communist Party. Now, you could say that U.S. defense firms are controlled by the United States federal government, but in China, it's an iron hand. I truly believe that if the Chinese Communist Party stood up and ordered every Chinese citizen to start marching north, they would start marching north. They might start grumbling and question it, but they would all be marching fucking north. If they said, hey, immediately march east, 1.4 billion people would march east. That's what I truly believe. That's the iron hand that the CCP has. We see it. We saw it, especially during the lockdowns. So is DJI controlled by the CCP? Everybody's controlled by the CCP. I had to turn the air count on, sit here sweating. Things I do to bring out quality entertainment. So if the audio is a little messed up, hey, I'm sweating too much. All right, let's take it down a notch. And again, you have to look at all angles of anything. Don't be biased. If you're biased on your theory, you go down that rabbit hole and you're not willing to look at other information. I think the frequency of sightings, the distance that they've been sighted from, people are pretty clear these are drones. So in the beginning of the video, I said let's rule out any type of UFO, advanced propulsion system. And look, I'm a firm believer that we are not alone in the universe. So I'm not discounting that. I'm just saying that nobody has said these things are defying laws of physics and we get into the UFO realm, which I would love to. But it just seems like these are big drones. Big drones not following the rules. Who's driving them? A couple of months ago, and I guess the point is, people don't always know what they're looking at. Maybe the majority of these sightings, what the White House said was, hey, most of them are just manned aircraft, they're Cessnas or they're private helicopters, and that's why they're taking different flight paths. That's a possibility. A certain percentage of these sightings are probably just normal aircraft. So you have to give them a little bit of credit. So if there's 100 sightings, let's just eliminate half of them. Say at least 50 are normal aircraft. What are the other 50? You got people being close enough to hear the rotors, they're drones. Anyhow, the point I was going to share is a few months ago, just coincidentally, I was sitting out front here and I was looking to sort of the south. Now, the direction that I was looking was over land because I'm on sort of the tip of a peninsula up here, right? I mean, I could walk through the woods to the beach in a click, 1 kilometer. Maybe less than a kilometer. The beach is that way. If you go to the tip, obviously you've got water all around, right? So when I saw these objects, I was looking south, which would have been over land. But I saw 3 lights in the sky, and it looked like 3 drones. To me, it looked like drones. I have a drone. I've flown drones at night. Me and my buddy Eric have flown drones. When we were camping over there, in the middle of the night. And so when I looked up and I saw these 3 white lights, I said, hey, somebody's flying drones over at the beach. I figured some foreign guys over at the beach, because ain't nobody around here got a drone. Not too many people around here have drones, So I said, hey, there's probably 3 foreign guys over at the beach flying drones. It was at night. And they didn't do anything spectacular. That's why I just chalked it up. It's 3 foreign dudes flying drones. And then when I got to thinking about it later on, I'm like, wait a minute. Number 1, the lights were a little bit brighter. Number 2, they weren't over the beach. They were over land down there. Now, they weren't satellites because they were moving this direction. They weren't going this way. It wasn't immediate. Roll all that shit out. They weren't doing anything outside the laws of physics, so it wasn't any type of an advanced propulsion system. I chalked it up as 3 drones to the point I told my buddy the story. I got a fucking witness. I may have emailed him. You know, just, hey man, what happened? Nah, shit, dude, I was sitting here last night, you know, just chilling, whatever, watching some dudes fly their drones over at the beach. Really didn't think too much about it until I realized that ain't the fucking beach. So unless there's some dudes over there at their wife's village, the point is, I don't know what they were doing. I don't know if they were drones. I don't know if they were some type of military asset, but I mean, we have military aircraft fly over this area all the time. If you don't know, the U.S. military is moving back into the PI because of this shit happening right over here in the ocean because of what? The CCP. So, the point is, we have to realize that the witnesses, not every sighting is a freaking drone. There you go. So now, does it mean the frequency of the actual drone sightings is a lot less? We gotta wait and see. Wait till the data comes in. All right, that's my big long rambling talk. If y'all haven't figured out, I don't have a script here. I don't write scripts. I wrote 2 books, but I cannot sit down and write a script. It's just too taxing. I just open up this camera, try to look at the lens and not the screen over there because you're just tempted to look at yourself. And this shit pops into my head. That's how I present it, just like we're sitting at a bar. So, key takeaways. If this is a state actor doing this in America, it's the Chinese Communist Party. Simple. You don't need to look any further. So let's put that shit to rest and look and see what are the other options. Okay? State actor, which means China. So hobbyists, you know, crazy knuckleheaded hobbyists playing a joke or fucking around, whatever, or trying to do some activism. B, special access program, or C, China. That's it. It's not fucking Iran with a mothership or a sub coming up from 60 feet below, launching these drones, poking a bear that's already gonna smash them. Don't make sense to me. You know, if I know you're gonna hit me, why would I amp you up? Okay, let me just take my lickings. If you're bigger than me, whatever, you got me tied up, you're gonna take my lickings, okay, we'll fight again another day. But Iran, I ain't buying that shit. It's not Russia style. It's the fucking Chinese. Alright, hey, thanks for joining me. Leave your comments, your opinions, links to any interesting videos down below. And we'll see how this plays out. We'll see how it plays out. Alright folks, I'm out of here. Got kids, make sure you spend some time with your kids, hug your kids today. The way the world's ramping up, I mean, we're basically in a pseudo World War III right now. If you just look at everything that's going on. And hopefully once Trump gets in here, yeah, he's the man for the job. Once he gets in here, hopefully he can ramp this down, cut some deals. Let's just get back to supporting our families and trying to live our lives. Because as it's going now, we're just headed. I guess the book of Revelation comes to mind. Okay, one last thing. All right. Fear. As I've mentioned in my book, my first book, fear makes money. How do you get somebody to buy something? You scare them. How do you get somebody to not buy something? You scare them. How do you get somebody to support a law or legislation? You scare them. Support going to war. Fear. Fear makes money. So, here's another option, way out there, but I'll bring it up. Okay, so how do you get people to support a ban on most hobbyist drone activity in America? You scare them with drones. Everybody's scared of the drones. They don't want no more drones flying over their house, whatever. Okay, here's new legislation. There's no more hobbyists or only in restricted areas, like, you know, I don't know, designated areas like parks. So now people are not as interested in buying DJI drones because they can't fly them as free as they used to be. What happens to DJI? Their sales tank, their profits tank. You put a hurting on them. Or B, you say, hey, DJI is banned. It's part of the Chinese military. And you can only buy from US drone companies. Now their commercial side goes up, more money for research and development so we can try to keep up with the Chinese. Catch up, not keep up, catch up. How do you do that? You do it through fear. Scare the whole country over drones. Nobody likes drones now. Okay, we're banning DJI drones. The buyback program. Turn in your drone. You can have my drone if you pry it from my cold dead hands. You get where it's a game of chess. It's not a very long game of chess. It's pretty simple to figure out. There's a drone war. How do you get rid of DJI? Regulate them with the public's approval and backing. Maybe it'll come out as rogue elements within DJI, the company itself, that's scaring everybody because they're fighting over contracts. Who knows, folks? Who knows? What was the rest of my notes here? Yeah, you ban the hobbyist drone activity. That cripples DJI. DJI tanks on the profits and commercial side, which cripples research and development. You can only buy from US government approved suppliers. I will admit to this. DJI, thus the Chinese Communist Party, they do see too much activity. My gosh, you fly that drone, it's uploading back to DJI at some point, whether you know it or not. Everything about that flight. Too much metadata that we're sending them voluntarily. So it sort of is an issue. I hate to give up my drone. Side. I mean, I hate to give up my drone, but really, is it that important? You know, if you own a company doing like official surveying or photography or stuff like that, okay, there's exceptions, right? But the average Joe Blow that don't know shit about a drone, was that really, just a second, sweetie, was that really a good idea that we let anybody off the street fly a drone over other people's heads? I really never thought that was a good idea, to the point that I won't fly my drone over people or roadways. I don't know if you go back through my videos, but typically I'll fly it up a mountain because if it drops out of the sky, it ain't gonna hurt nobody. I'll fly it over the water because if it drops out of the sky, it's just gonna splash into the ocean. I only fly my drone over an area where I'm certain that if that thing drops out of the sky, there's no people. And I don't fly it at an altitude that's crazy. And you see some of these videos where people are flying these drones, you know, I guess 400 feet is the limit, but they're flying, you know, 350, 400 feet in the air over populated areas where if that thing loses power, it's gonna hurt somebody. I never thought that was a good idea. I never thought it was a good idea to give the public a drone where they can hover right out above my window, and because I have that much crack with the curtain that they can sit there and look into my house. So I don't think the everyday person needs a remote control airplane that can transmit video. And I'm a drone owner. So I hate to hurt the drone pilot community out there, but it's an unsafe toy. So if you said, hey, you can only fly these things at you know, parks or over lakes or ponds, somewhere where there's nobody underneath it, I'm okay with that. Or if you're out in the middle of nowhere, the desert, or out in the mountains, there's no people, that's fine. But anywhere around a populated area, the average dipshit who's already whacked out of his mind anyhow doesn't need to have the ability to go buy a drone and send that thing up in the air, recording people, and or if you don't know how to fly it, crashes it into something. I mean, I'm a pretty smart guy. The first time I flew my drone, I lost it and it was above my head the whole time. I'd be okay with tightening it up, taking DJI down. That's pretty, like I said, I got a drone, I got their microphones, they got some great products. The Osmo Pocket, wow, what a great, we use the action.
What's inside?
But the drones are a risk and a liability in themselves. I'll have to admit it. Both just to the average person in their neighborhood, some kid gets a drone for Christmas, and then strategically, because their R&D transfers over to the military side, people are going to have to probably fight at some point. There you go.